Hello everyone, this is Trackpad Artist, returning to you all with another weekly installment of my writing and world-building process. This week, in order to best get into the spirit of the season, we'll be exploring the nature of the eternal winter, the title granted to Senthus, Ryng's fell god of winter, decay, and prophecy. In exploring this fell dictate, we'll be looking into the aspects that make up his design and character. First, we'll review what we know about the god before diving into the symbolism of the hourglass, his sigil. Afterwards, we'll discuss his physical form and the many powerful abilities that accompany it. We'll then explore Senthus' larger goals as a deity before undercutting such a discussion with an exploration into Senthus' great weakness, his slothfulness. After exploring the deity with an in-universe perspective, I feel as though it'll be appropriate to discuss the design and character philosophy used to develop such a deity, a factor we haven't really explored with other characters of Ryng's past. All this together, let's get into the discussion proper, and explore the glacial apocalypse of Senthus, the eternal winter. Senthus is held in high regard as one of the most feared dictates of Ryng, holding many names alongside his title of the eternal winter. Joined with such a crowning, first bestowed upon him in the primordial War of Law, mortal men have since crowned the beast with the names of the Glacial Maw, the Freezing One, and even Death Incarnate. Such names, however, though imposing in their nature, often exaggerate Senthus' role within Ryng's larger world. As though Senthus is a creature of great power and awe, he himself has no control over the divine dominion of death, such a power belonging to none other than Fairn, the skeletal half of Father's twinned heirs. Even still, mortal men often draw a connection to the concepts of death when discussing the fell dictate. As though not death itself, he still represents an apocalyptic aftermath, one brought about by a dark future coated in ice and snow. The youngest of the dictates, Senthus claims to be the future of all things, manifested from Father's first angels in their desire to see beyond the fabric of time, that they may learn to master their own fates. Such a desire was one quickly corrupted into a twisted visage of what once was, a set future doomed to apocalypse, a future of finality over change, a future void of choice, ruled by nothing but ice and decay. The hourglass is the icon of this finality, a ticking clock fueled by finite grains of sand, which, though perhaps plentiful for the moment, will continue to slip away until there is nothing left. As such, the hourglass is considered taboo amongst the cultures of Ryng, leaving such a time-telling device in an era of the past, now only seen within the rituals of mortal men, who in their fear, look to any means to prolong the apocalypse, even if such salvation is for no one but themselves. These worshippers of the end, a collection of individuals without creed or banner, are driven not by faith or adoration, but by an all-consuming fear. Since marked by the masses as supplicants, these worshippers hail from all walks of life. Some are prophets and mystics, who claim to gaze with the eyes of the future, foreseeing the end of eras and recording prophecies in the name of Senthus' glacial wrath. Others are gravekeepers and morticians, who tend to the bodies of the deceased in a desperate plea for mercy from the deity of decay. And others still cling to a forbidden magic, necromancers who seek to harness the power of the afterlife in a futile attempt to control that which cannot be controlled. Despite their varied backgrounds, supplicants share a common dread of their fallen master. They see death not as a transformation, but as a blunt and unforgiving end, an icy void where all existence is extinguished. They view themselves not as guardians, but as desperate beggars who will do anything to even attain a chance to delay the inevitable. As such, these supplicants often live solitary lives, often shunned by Ryng's wider communities for their unorthodox practices of worship, which often involve ritualistic sacrifice and burials. Though most may fear these people of faith and their association with such a corrupt god, there are those who pity them for their hopeless devotion, as the supplicants are seen as those who have lost all hope, who have surrendered to the icy grip of despair. This grip is held by a creature frozen in time. Senthus is a beast of scale and feather, blind to the world around him, his eyes long since torn from their sockets, unable to comprehend both present and future. To this end, Senthus sees only through prophecy, visions of the immediate and distant future ever swirling within his shattered mind, granting him an impossible alertness of his surroundings, both foreign or familiar. As a god of prophecy, Senthus is the only being upon Ryng's faces gifted with such a foresight. Often sought out by those who wish to share in such a banquet, these souls often claim to have been bestowed such a power from the dictate, though the truth behind their claims is often called into question. Senthus prowls through the caverns of his glacial lair on 3 pairs of great clawed limbs, which carve through the ice and stone of his cavernous home within the Everwinter Peaks, a mountain range ever veiled in thick blizzards and snow, a symptom of Senthus's impossible cold. The god's teeth, jagged as shards of broken glass, frame his inner jaws, a secondary maw within a maw which exudes the perpetual stench of decay and rot. These teeth, ever coated in the shine of thick saliva, glimmer with the scattering light of Senthus's bioluminescent blood, a frigid neon blue whose light pierces the canopy of his patchy blue-gray feathers. These feathers, which run down his long, twisted spine, fade into darker shades as they move towards the end of the god's great beating wings. Ripped and torn from millennia without flight, these wings are left with no purpose but to insulate the fell god throughout his great slumber. This is the body of Senthus, the embodiment of finality, the freezing and decaying forces that signal the end of life and the passage of time. While other gods represent growth, vitality, and creation, Senthus stands as the inevitable conclusion to all things death, decay, and winter's embrace. He seeks to slow the world to a standstill, that his visions of an unending cold may come to fruition, that a final reckoning may sweep the circles of Ryng, and that nothing may be left to grow or flourish. Senthus's ultimate goal is the utter apocalypse, where, with the death of every living thing, both mortal and godly, that prophecy and fate may converge into a frozen, unmovable state, where no life or motion can continue. He does this that the endless stream of fates that endlessly batter the god's mind may finally come to cease, as with the end of change comes the end of prophecy. The end of life leaves the future quiet, a quiet in which Senthus may finally rest. This longing of rest has left Senthus to be the most isolated of his brothers, longing for nothing more than the realization of the eternal peace he sees for Ryng, a peace that can only come once Ryng is left devoid of the complexities of sentient life. This longing of peace, however, serves as Senthus's downfall, as the god's great slothfulness largely inhibits his goals of the apocalypse. This behavior, however, does not stem from a desire for an action, but rather from his own gift of prophecy. Senthus, as he slumbers, is the constant witness of the future he desires. Such visions leave him no need to bring the future to pass, as the god's prophecies have already assured him of it. As such, Senthus only ever influences the greater world when presented no other choice, forced to act in order to preserve a future of what he considers peace. It is this truth that basks eras of peace in an air of uncertainty, as the absence of Senthus serves as a grim mark of Ryng's future. As in the fell god's satisfaction, mortal men know their end is nigh. Not today, nor tomorrow, perhaps not in another month, or year, or decade, or century, but it will come. This is Senthus, Ryng's prophetic god of winter, decay, and prophecy, a creature who, in his eternal torment, has been all but assured of the world's destruction and his subsequent peace. It is this assurance that breeds the god's slothfulness, as he is left doing only what is necessary to continue to assure his eventual peace, willing to wait any number of millennia for a single day of this true peace he seeks. Senthus, however, when taken outside the world of Ryng, proves to be one of the most interesting characters I have written to date, with many engaging elements behind both his design and behavior. But before we take a peek behind the curtain, I'd like to take a moment to thank you all for making it this far into the video. looking to remind you all of my ongoing plans to make a TTRPG rule set for the world of Ryng. With this reminder comes an announcement, as I'm looking to release this game very soon, by the end of the year. In making such a claim, I'm holding it to myself to have everything done by this deadline, as the rule set is nearing its completion. If you've liked the video thus far and would like further updates surrounding this game, as well as the wider world of Ryng, you can subscribe to the channel here, and if you'd like to further support this world and project, consider supporting me on Patreon to help me get this done. That'll be all. Let's get back to it. In looking into the many ideas and inspirations behind Senthus, his visual physiology is largely based on that of a moray eel, an opportunistic, ambush predator of the ocean floor which springs from its rocky den to catch its prey. Once prey is caught within the moray's jagged teeth, which point inwards to hook onto the flesh of its meal, the moray's inner jaws will extend from the innermost reaches of its maw, ripping chunks of meat from whatever is caught within its jaws. This hunting style is what most drew me to the idea of the moray, as Senthus himself also serves as a form of opportunistic ambusher, only straying from his glacial caverns when opportunity presents itself. Additionally, the moray's uncanny mouth and twin pairs of jaws served as an incredible inspiration to further fantasize the god's form, which, when coupled with a feathered spine, wings, and extra limbs, serves to truly distinguish Ryng's god of glacial prophecy from any other creature of fantasy, granting him a unique and personal visual identity among other monsters of Ryng and high fantasy. Coupled with his visual inspirations, Senthus's behavior is largely based on the trope of prophecy, specifically regarding the prophetic villain, who spends the length of a narrative doing everything in their power to ensure a prophecy does or does not come to pass. In taking this trope, I wondered what a reversal of this pattern would come to look like. What if the villain knew that the world would naturally bring to pass the perfect conditions for his grand scheme? It is this reversal that served as the foundational idea of Senthus, long before his character ever came into full fruition, as in reversing the trope, Senthus became the creature of sloth and pride he is today. A god with no need to act, no motivation, as in knowing the future of all things, he is left knowing that if things remain as they are, his victory is all but assured. This reversal of tropes is a strategy I often employ within my character writing, taking known literary patterns and molding them into something else, whether through a reversal, subversion, or simple modification. If any of you would like to learn a little more about my character writing process, additional details of my visual and narrative design processes are available in an earlier installment of this channel, which will be linked in a card at the end of this video. All that said, I do believe we have reached the end of today's discussion. As always, thank you all for sticking around to the end of the video to support me and my work. If you've enjoyed this discussion, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe for weekly videos recounting my world building and writing processes. Additionally, feel free to leave any suggestions for future topics we should discuss in the comments down below. And if you'd like to go a step further in your support of me and Ryng's development, including my TTRPG, consider becoming a Patreon or channel member to not only support me, but gain access to additional benefits. On Patreon, you can gain access to my videos early and ad-free. You can receive high-definition downloads of my artwork, and engage with me in exclusive supporter chats. All this alongside a slew of other additional perks. The link to my Patreon, as well as our Discord server, as always, will be in the description. Until next time, this has been Trackpad Artist. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again soon for our next discussion.